You see that heat lightning flashes up there, so when the whole sky lights up and flashes, you can't see it. So, give me a second. Let me cover the camera. See if I can stand on the chairs. Chair, I can't stand on it. I can't believe that's not showing on the camera. Those terribly large, frightening flashes. Yeah, none of them flashes on the cam, huh? Oh, it's spectacular. It's almost as if there's like alien space shuttle doing like some kind of laser beam experiment or plasma rays or something. It's just heat lightning, yeah, but sure, it goes along with the whole, the the myths of being visited by extraterrestrials every August for the Indian summer, the strange New England weather. Especially in New London County during Indian summer, there is you get a 95-degree day with all of a sudden there's freezing rain and hail the size of golf balls, and then the storm dissipates and there's lightning all night. Well, it's like temperature bumps up to 105 by this weird full yellow moon. You know, it's just the way it is. Those flashes are are unbelievable, and I'm sorry I can't show more, but if I tip the camera down any further, I think the neighbor's trailer might in the dids. So I'll get this off the skies, and so I didn't bring up connections with other. Here, I'll let me flip the lamp back on so too. Spark up a smoke. I'm at the bars. See, there's our remote. That happened last time I showed up. Arisha Mosan. I didn't mention, yeah, I'm having a stogie. The, the connections, flesh to flesh that I wound up sharing, and like, with Paris Hilton and Avica Trump, this past show 90, I think I mentioned play dates with Pierce Bush, or Bush Pierce. There is a Barbara Pierce. Would that be another one? Or Pierce? Why can't you would have been Pierce Bush? That doesn't run off the tongue as well. Is that it? All right. Well, anyway, there was also Chelsea Clinton. That was due to my granddad being in the FBI and my grandpa being in the Navy. Is what those two from. But then my great grandmother would introduce me to a childhood favorite family friend, Paris Hilton, and of course her favorite friend, Ivanka Trump, right? And that's because my great grandmother worked in Manhattan, um, alongside the Hiltons and Trumps in their New York City empires, alongside their New York City empires with last name Hoffman, such as Albert Hoffman, the chemist, um, from Sandoz, 1930s invention of synthesized uh, lysergic acid diethylamine 25. Although she was his first cousin, they were more like brother and sister as they shared the same uh, homestead pretty much in Switzerland from, say, 1908 when she was born until 1930 something. Well, she was captured by the Nazis in the Third Reich, genocide, concentration camps, and Holocaust. So she wasn't Jewish, no. And it was a little bit too little bit some personal information there, that I'm sure is in her writings and things. If you were to look up the legacy she left behind her on behalf of her own person, what she was able to do for me was get me in touch with Paris Hilton and Ivanka Trump since a young age. Um, Most likely with uh, intense of me being known as uh, Albert Hoffman's fourth cousin. I suppose I'd be a fourth cousin of Albert Hoffman. I'm sure he has plenty of other fourth cousins, but I'm one of them. I'd says yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if my great grandmother was his first cousin, that makes my grandmother his second cousin, my mother his third cousin, and me his fourth cousin. I'm having a smoke. Still, still, still smoking. Yeah, no, going on year 11 now. Well, I wanted to bring those two up. I had a whole list, and I think I was able to count up to 13. So there was Pierce, there was Chelsea, there was Keelan, there was Paris, there was Avinka, and I think that's five. Say there was two Midland sisters. Say that's six and seven. There's a Monet showed up way later. Um, that's eight. Yeah, and then there was Hazel, which was nine. I'd visit her while she was at her grandmother's house in Rhode Island. She'd play in my backyard, and we'd explore New London City together. So that's Hazel, or known as uh, Halsey, something similar. So it's a masculine name. I call her Hazel instead. So it always has. I think couldn't really pronounce her birth name either. So I think we decided that sounded a little bit too much like Stroganoff somehow. I think it was a crazy time back then, and 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it was crazy, and it's split up about on either side. So with an injury that I picked up in New York in 2008 summer. So there was that, and then counting past nine, past Hazel, there was Daisy, right? She was the Old England exchange student that visited New London, New England, say 2002 with her parents. 2003, 2000, the very end of 2003 she went back, or maybe it was 2002 to 2004 or 2003. It's centered around 2003. She was staying between my bedroom and where her parents were, which was some somewhere around, maybe my backyard in a tent. Not really sure. So yeah, New London, New England didn't get hit, and at that point, Groton didn't have a mysterious plane fall on the sub base 747 with too much gasoline, or just enough so it would explode when it missed the runway, unless it was not aiming for the runway, which was a favorite local theory. They were trying to jihad the nuclear portion of the submarine manufacturing um, facility, and they wound up missing, thankfully. So there was that, and there was getting in touch with her before that and bonding over the Harry Potter books. Somehow letters were making it from New London, New England to Old London, Old England, saying, hey, Old London, Old England looks kind of like Manhattan, New York City, which is down the way, and etc. So it's Harry Potter and things. So, but we lost touch, and then she picked up fame. Like I said, there was a blood tied family member, nameless Sugar that was a Grateful Dead band member on and off again, with no lead music instrument as his weapon. Let's say 9 times out of 10, it's not like he was playing bass next to Jerry Garcia 9 times out of 10 in replacement for Phil Lesh, or alongside his Phil Lesh. Maybe they tried two bassists at the same time at a couple of shows, and there he is. It's not what he's labeled as. He's this guy, and these several other pictures under this label. That one's and you can talk to the and see the similarities, and they really didn't look the same point, but whatever. So what was that? I think that was 9 and 10. Yolande Visser was another one. That was something I was picking up as Keelan was filing suit on Grateful Dead Productions for advocating narcotics at shows. I was trying to get together smaller side bands to be endorsed by some sort of Grateful Dead Corporation affiliate programs for endorsing. She had a hilarious skit where her brother would chase away the ghetto goons from from her flat while she was in somewhat of a spring fever in South Africa, and she had some pilot something on iTunes back in early 2000, January 2009, I think it was, and I was trying to invest in that, so in case it was a big thing later, because I thought it would work and I thought she was cute, so there was uh, there was a injury worse than mine on a family member, and thank God he survived, but he'll never be the same. You know, we as a family will never be the same, and somehow that music showed up whilst I was at his quote unquote deathbed, where he'd pull through miraculously. You know, um, uh, still stuck in my mind. And thank goodness they got that "Babies on Fire" track out there, because I thought it was a really something. But no, I had to repress most of the dozen dames of the Stature High for just blending into local circuits. And see, going either way, I don't want to feel like the pervy stalker when it comes to, you know, real life flesh meat around you. And the local gals that I think probably most of them, 6 out of 12 at least, had 7 out of 12 at least, is kind of had enough, and they focus on me. That look back to the '90s and says, you know what, he can afford, you know, something like to be in cahoots, whether it be semi-professional or platonic relationship, or even a fling with one of these millionaires, and bring some healing to the tribe fiscal eventually. Why don't you, instead of steaming up your glasses at the nap of my back there? So but no, and for real, my life was attempted on by a murder by arson in '91. I was living in West Virginia. I was too young to recall, but unconsciously I'm still haunted by it. Bad dreams, Freddy Krueger, etc. And I was given crib mates and girlfriends at a young age until I had about a dozen that we were pretty sure would stick with me for the rest of my life. And I'm not going to go over it. That whole big chunk is a sugaree, and on tubes. Been primarily focusing on treating myself as a public figure. Um, Not really in an attempt to become one. It's just a kind of like it might be for being on hiatus. The Drew Carlson story, the Drew Carlson story, Drew Carlson story, the Drew Carlson story. World news. Lesser known member of the Grateful Dead, firstborn son, seen here running from the press. Uh, in coincidence with Bush Jr. impeachment about some kind of wild East Coast parties that his daughter was being involved in, and so there was that, which I don't really want to see slander about. So I've been trying to upkeep, you know. And then there was the masses of the Grateful Dead, whoever they've passed information on to, you know, since a couple years before my birth, when I guess it was just a rumor that, you know, the Grateful Dead would have kids, more than just the immediate band, would have extended band members, would have children playing with the and what would the future of the Grateful Dead really look like in case something happened, like something happened to Jerry, like something happened to Brent. And now we're looking at the Dead and Company these days as it, and Phil Lesh, right? Old age. Old age, medical complications, they're gonna disappear like Yoda. I think so. I think they're just gonna lay down after a show well done and, show up as a ghost 30 seconds later. So what's gonna happen with the band? Because the music, it's the music can't just stop. Oh, there is the well, no, John Mayer is not a girl, so I think we would probably, unless he took himself down a notch or was just a tidbit feminine enough for me not to somehow on the inside of my mind, man, his mind, man, have some kind of pissing competition. Um, Men naturally find competition with me. That's why I picked women folks of fiscal relativity, in proverbial sense, or at least fame. From time to time, I've been as in cahoots with, you know, Jerry's daughter my age, or Bush Jr.'s daughter, Paris Hilton, etc. So, but sharing the same amount of pocket spending money just hasn't happened unless they were right next to me. And then, of course, what's theirs is mine to some extent, probably just less than half of, depending on the amount of time we had together and the circumstances, whether it be business or pleasure. So, who I was trying to put on the list there was Mackenzie Davis because I had the hots for her back in 2014, and she's been on my mind now and again since 2014, but we haven't come within a 10-foot pole of each other as far as real life. And since that, I picked her up again. I saw her in the Terminator 6 previews, and I thought, hey, we used to talk online. It's like Yolande there. She's coming out with a new album, and I thought, hey, we used to talk online. Of course, she came out with two albums, and I'm not sure if I've ever, re-picked up the same connections we had back in 2009 when she was looking for kind of like, like uh, handouts, sort of, to find a publisher for her single, for her demos, for her iTunes demos. She was looking for years, and I was one. Not It's not the same with me and Mackenzie Davis. No, she was on TV already, had a slim to none career, and was going pretty much nowhere. And as an actress, she was making love with some scuzzy dude. That I think the audience frowned upon. But I'd like to see the Terminator 6, especially since it has the Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. Oh, it's Schwarzenegger, yeah. But no, I could if she was number 12. Well, there was Piper Perry, and her I knew in real life. We would take vacations to an area where she would. It was either close to her house or close to somewhere she would visit. We'd visit the same vacation area at the same time, and I don't know how the heck that happened. I think it was a random coincidence, and it was years and years before she was of age. Never mind a millionaire adult actress. But since she picked up that career, I got back in touch with her, and I don't think we're on camera together, but I think we shared some within a 10-foot pole together in New York. Um, so, like I said about there was just one on the list that I didn't know in real life. So I'm trying to find one, and then see if I can come within a 10-foot pole. So I might hold on to Mackenzie Davis for a little while. maybe the next 6 months and see if I can rearrange some gadgets, some gadgets and thing. Or I might just X that one off and pick up this Hempress Sativa chick, or someone in Jamaica. See if Bob Marley has any daughters or something. And that was as close as I could get to Bob Marley's daughter for some reason or another. It's not that I don't know men. It's just I'd rather keep them discreet and show off the women folk. It's kind of like, they're more expensive. They are. I think the lady, regardless of smarts, intellect, intelligence, anything similar, it says they're smarter. Yeah, but my personal opinion is they're more expensive. Well, I'll go ahead and check this offset shortly. So yeah, about in like 2110. So 3, 2, 1, check.